Hello everyone, my name is T-Junkie. I thought I'd do a quick attachments video tutorial to show you how to create attachments for any weapons or swords or anything like that. So in this little project I have a little GUI system up here that says scope, magazines, barrel, stocks and grip. And down here I've also got a left arrow, stop and right arrow. Basically what this is the left arrow rotates my weapon left, my right arrow rotates my weapon right, and stop obviously stops it. Now if I don't want to scope my weapon, I click off, takes my scope off. Magazines, I'll have the drum magazine. Barrels, I'll have a long barrel, and stock, I'll have a long stock, and grip I'm gonna turn off. And I'll put the scope back on actually. There we go. So it looks like a semi-sniper rifle thing. It's just a placeholder model really. Now to create this, I used Blender. If I open up Blender here, you can see I've got this weapon model, and it looks quite bad actually. As you can see, I've got two stocks here, one stock here, and another one here. I've got a scope. These are all separate models, by the way, objects. So the scope's a separate object, the magazines are separate, the barrels are separate, and the grip's separate, and the body's separate. The reason why I've done this is because when you import it into Unity, what you're going to find is if you have more separate models, Unity will actually pick that up and have them as separate components in the parent object. So while I thought I'd put this one together really quick, as you can tell it's quite bad. It's going to be what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this model with this one. As you can see, it's still work in progress, but as you can see, when I change the view, you can see the model on the picture I'm using to replicate the model. So this will have different Picatinny rails, different shroud covers, the barrel attachments. I'm going to put silence from the end of that as a different object. I'm going to put magazines as different objects, different sights, stock lengths, flashlights, grips, everything is going to be different really. But if I go into here, I might want to mention actually, when you go to add this to Unity, what you need to do is you need to file export and export it as an FBX. All I do is FBX seems to work perfectly fine. When you've exported an FBX, grab where it is and just drag it into your project. So you just hold it like this and then just drag it into here. Well, I'm not going to be doing that because I've already got it in here. If you look at my models, it's already here. Now when you add it to your project, if you open it up, you can see the parent here, and the children, you have cube 1, 2, 3, 4 cylinders, and it has your meshes here as well. Now when you drag it into your scene, open it up and then rename each to actually have a name. See, I've put my scope names, quite self-explanatory really. Long barrel, standard barrel, long stock, short stock, grip, etc. Now what I've also done is I've added tags to each. So the grip has a grip tag, a forward grip tag. So if I click on it, click add tag, as you can see here, each attachment, even my body really, I don't need a tag on that, but I've got it anyway. Each attachment I've created a tag for. So scope, long barrel, short barrel, forward grip, long stock, short stock, drum mag, standard mag. And then you want to add the tags to each part respectively after you've named them. So tag, standard mag, drum mag, everything. Now when you add it to your scene, every single object that was in your Blender file, like the barrel, the magazines, like the 6 different magazines you may have, or handles or stocks or scopes, they will all be visible. They'll all be visible at the same time. To get around this, if you want a standard way this weapon looks, like I have here, short barrel, grip, magazine, standard back magazine, short grip, scope. And what we want to do is go into each of these and disable the mesh renderer or enable it. So here I've got, if I disable the mesh renderer for the forward grip, it no longer shows. Do not disable the actual object because you'll run into problems down the line. The way we're going to set this up is we're going to have the script find each game object with the tags, and if you disable this, the script won't be able to find this object because it's disabled, and you'll just get a massive red flag error. I'll demonstrate that later actually. So what you want to do is you want to disable the mesh renderer instead and enable it. That way you can see and you can't see. I'm going to do the same with the scope. I'm just going to disable the scope. As you can see, we've got quite a standard looking rifle there. Not too glamorous, but yeah, it's basically going to do its job. Once you've done that, you can minimize that because you don't need that in it open anymore. And you want to create a script, a C# script called rotate script. And then once you've created it, open it up, and this one's quite easy. Now we've got a private float speed, and I've set it as 20F. This is the speed you want the item, weapon or whatever to spin at any given time. So I've set the speed to 20. It seems to be quite a decent speed. I could up it up really, but actually let's go something crazy. I'm going to say 200. That's probably going to spin like crazy, but we shall see. Yeah, see, like something out of Doom. It's something to note, by the way, the pivot point where the 3-axis align is where it's going to spin. So if your pivot point is in the stock, it's going to spin around the stock. As you can see here, the center pivot point is right there. That's the pivot point. So what you want to do is, if you need that aligning and it doesn't work, I believe it is Control C. Oh no, sorry, Shift C, and it centers. It puts all your model in the view and also centers the little dot. If I click out over here, the pivot point over here, Shift C, and it puts it all back in alignment and centered again. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but it seems to work fine for me. Now, once you've known this rotate script, in the update function, I've said if turn left equals true, then transform.rotate vector3.up. The reason I'm using up and not left and right is because the X, Y, and Z axis in Blender is completely different to the X, Y, and Z axis in Unity. There is a way of setting it up in Blender to mimic the same as Unity, which will be a later tutorial because there's quite a bit you need to fiddle around with. But for now, just use up for left and down for right. Now what I've done is vector3.up, comma, speed times time.delta time. Now time.delta time is in engine time. So the moment you click play, it's like 1 second, 2 second, 3 second in the engine time. So this is basically spinning 200 every game second. So that's insane. Now turn right, if turn right's true, transform.rotate vector3.down, comma, speed times time.delta time. It's exactly the same except for the opposite. Now in the GUI system, void on GUI, we've got 3 buttons. The first button is the left arrow saying turn right is false, turn left is true. The middle button, which I've said is stop, turn right is false, turn left is false. And on the bottom one, the right arrow, turn left is false, turn right is true. I don't know if it's the order matters, but I always have what I'm turning off is false first, and then after that's turned off, the other one is true. Now once you've done that and save that script off, you want to drag the rotate script onto the main parent test weapon right here. Don't drag it to any of the children. These do not need any scripts at all. Just add it to the parent, and you can see it added right here. And if all works, it should rotate. I recommend 20 or 30. You might be able to find an equilibrium. If you just want it to turn straight away, say you just want to add a spinning coin in your level, then you can use exactly the same rotate script, except you don't need to do this private ball or anything. Just put a speed on, and then on the update or the start function, you just set it to transform.rotate and the speed and delta time right here. You don't need all this stuff here. And then you just add that to your script and it'll turn straight away. So you can have a spinning coin in your level if you want, or like Doom weapons spinning in the level as well. Now the second script you want to create is attachments, second C# script. And this is where the meat is, where you're going to add all the attachments and everything. Now when you open up your attachment script, you want to create as many private game objects. You can make them public if you want, but I have them as private because the script finds and adds each game object to the respective area. So I've got private game object, long barrel, short, scope, standard mag, drum mag. These are all my attachments. I've not added my body because my body is not technically a attachment. It's just the main meat of the weapon. Now in the update function, I've got if scope equals null, so if there is no game object attached to scope, then scope equals game object dot find game object with tag. Game the object, not objects. There are two. You just want game object singular, and then you write the tag name in there in the curly bracket, the brackets, like a string. So if I go into my test weapon here, scope, the tag's called scope. And as you can see, it's exactly the same spell there, capital letters and all. You have to make sure it's identical to the tag you have attached to that object. And do that for each and every single object attachment you've got. So as you can see here, I've got drum mag, with the tag drum mag. Now it's if drum mag equals null. This basically populates this whole list out for us so we can do something with it. Now in here in the GUI, I've got on GUI a label just saying scope really, and I've got two buttons. So my first button, which you can have anywhere you want and what size you want and called what you want. I've got scope.get component, then the arrow brackets, mesh renderer. See, if you notice inside the engine, if I was to toggle the mesh renderer, you can see it and you can't see it. So that's definitely the component we want. And then the curly brackets, dot enabled equals true. So yes, you want this enabled. So if I click on, it enables it. Now I've got a second button, which is scope.get component mesh renderer, dot enabled equals false. So it turns off if I click off. Now magazines, similar thing, except if I click standard magazine, I want the drum magazine mesh renderer to disable. I want that false, but I want the standard magazine to be true. Similarly, if I want the drum magazine to be on, the drum magazine mesh renderer is true, whereas the standard magazine mesh renderer is false. The same with the barrels as well. Same with the barrels, exactly the same thing. Same with the stock, because I have multiple stocks. And the grip down here is the same as I had the scope, because I've only got one grip. It's either on or off. I've done it exactly the same as the scope. If you have many grips, you can just do it exactly the same as the stocks. See, I've just got a long stock and a short stock. But if I had no stock, I could probably disable the stock completely. It's entirely up to you how many attachments you have. The reason why I'm getting this is because when I add this model when it's finished, and I've added it to the game, if I add the tags, like the grip tag to the grip, and the scope tag to the scope, and the magazine drum to the drum magazine, etc, 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 it's universal. It doesn't have to be the same model, as long as each component has a tag, and I have added the script to the main parent. It doesn't matter what model I've got, it's universal. It will disable each one. So I can have this short stock here, and I can change it to drum mag. Really, I ideally want to, but if I change to drum mag and I say magazine standard, it disables it. So all these are, that's a short stop, won't it? Yeah. So all these are universal. It's just also relying on what tags you have for which object. So if you've done that correctly, and you've done all your stuff here and you've not disabled an object, when you click play, you should have your little GUI the way you've laid it out, and when you play around with it, you can make you can add it, the attachments you want, and it spins if you want it to spin. And the main reason for this is you can use the same method. It doesn't have to be for attachments, really. You can have the same method that if a player shoots a ball at a wall, it disables the mesh renderer, then it destroys it straight after. So that way you don't get any errors you've disabled and destroyed. Or if you push a button that makes blocks disappear, or you pick up a coin or anything like that, or weapons in a level, anything really, you can look back at some of these scripts and think, well, yeah, I can actually use parts of this script, like finding objects with tags like here. Then you might be able to use it for something else, like a scoreboard or something. You can have stuff like this. So this is the main purpose. This script here I can add to multiple different weapons, and just have different tags for each. That way it doesn't disable it all, and if you get what I mean. But if you get stuck or anything, leave a comment. I will get back to you and I'll see if I can help you out. Anyway, I hope this has helped. Thank you very much. I'm a T Junkie, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.